under 843. Therefore, it should be redrafted with clearer language. That's basically it. And plus the village authority should be verified as to whether the ordinance will be from the village or from the town. And I believe these are technicalities. We agree on what the intention is here.
Thank you. Representative Hanley, we haven't heard from you yet.
Yes, thank you. Do we have a motion on the floor for this?
We do have a motion ought to pass as amended.
Okay, I want to speak in favor of that motion, and with just exactly what Representative Tucker said, to have Mr. Takanoff draft this so the ordinance, the local ordinance under 843 is how this is adjudicated. And I hope we can move the question along.
Senator Bennett.
Thank you. I understand the point, Representative Tucker, you're making, and I have to say, I think that though that this isn't just like language cleanup. There's some substantive issues buried into some of this language. So I personally, while I don't disagree with the direction, I think I'd like to see a cleaner version of the language with some of these substantive issues addressed before voting ought to pass as amended.
Representative Tucker.
That would be agreeable with me. That would be fine. I would be more comfortable seeing the actual language myself. The question is whether or not Mr. Tartikoff will have time to do that between now and the end of session.
Mr. Tartikoff, do you have a thought on that?
It should, yeah, definitely between now and the end of session, unless we're ending this week.
Never know.
I don't know when we would have to talk about, if we're talking about tabling this, we'd have to talk about when you want to bring it up. It's not very broad in scope, so I would imagine I could get something together fairly quickly. I would, before moving on, it probably would be good to get some clarity or have discussion on the liability provisions. I'm not sure Mr. Livesay will have any input on that, but I do have a couple comments on that matter.
Mr. Livesay, do you have any comments on the liability piece?
I'm gonna leave that to you. I mean, I've way back, and I've talked with the person who's generated this amendment, and I didn't work on the amendment, just like Dan didn't. And I'm not sure if this is an important piece of the puzzle for them or not, quite frankly. I don't know if this is just sort of added on because they talked to the local town lawyer, or if this is, so I don't know how important this is. That might be a question for the person who proposed the amendment.
Yes, Representative Tucker.
I think, I don't want to cut off the discussion, but I think we could postpone this and for 1 week and bring it back on our next work session day. And I don't want to say the magic word table if somebody has something they want to say, but I would like to postpone this discussion to 1 week from today.
I'll say the magic word. I think we should table the bill.
I'll move.
I second it.
Show of hands. Great. Thank you, everyone. All right, that was lively. Next, so we're gonna close hearing on 909, or work session, excuse me, and we're gonna open a work session on LD 911. An act to prohibit the reception of foreign waste plastic in Maine ports. Dan, did you want to walk through this at all, or are we?
If I have a bill analysis, if you think it would be of value to go through it. So LD, I guess Representative Bloom has her hand up.
Representative Bloom.
Thank you, Senator. Do we have a copy of that? Did you send it to us in our email? What you're about to go through, Dan?
It should have just popped in your Ledge email. Did everyone get it, or did that not come through? Good, okay. Would you like me to proceed?
I have it.
Okay. LD 911 is Representative Falkingham's bill. It's an act to prohibit the reception of foreign waste, foreign plastic, waste plastic in Maine ports. The bill prohibits a port on navigable waters in the state from receiving a vessel's plastic waste originating from another jurisdiction or country. I've listed the people testifying on the bill. There was not a lot. As stated by the sponsor, the impetus for this bill was an accidental spill of roughly 5,000 pounds of shredded plastic waste during the unloading of a vessel in Searsport that had transported the waste from Northern Ireland. The waste was destined for the Penobscot Energy Recovery Company, or PERC, in Orrington, a waste-to-energy incinerator to be used as fuel for energy generation. Although required by law to notify the DEP of the spill, the terminal operator failed to do so. According to the DEP, it has since initiated an enforcement action against the terminal operator, and to its knowledge, PERC at this time is not planning to import from a foreign country additional plastic waste for fuel. As noted by DEP, the proposal could raise issues under the Commerce Clause of the U.S. Constitution. Although a court's evaluation of any state law under the Commerce Clause would be fact-specific, with respect to the regulation of solid waste, the Supreme Court has generally found that a state may not prohibit the importation of solid waste unless that prohibition is the only means to advance a legitimate local purpose. And a state may restrict the acceptance of certain wastes when acting as a market participant, i.e. in the case of a publicly owned waste facility. The latter so-called market participant exception does not appear applicable to the law proposed in the bill, and the law may otherwise encounter difficulties if subject to a Commerce Clause challenge. As noted by DEP, certain international treaties or agreements may apply to the activity that is the impetus for the bill. The Basel Convention and the OECD were noted. According to a December 2020 BDN article regarding the Searsport spill, there were some individuals that argued the shipping of that plastic waste violates the Basel Convention, which the UK, which includes Northern Ireland, is a party to, but the US is not. The manager of the PERC facility in that article disputed that claim, believing the shipment was in fact lawful. The bill, as noted by DEP, uses the term plastic waste, but does not define that term. This could be problematic for two reasons. Number one, as noted by DEP, the waste that was spilled in Searsport, that was the impetus for the bill, was intended for use as fuel, and depending on its characterization, might not be considered waste. In other words, it might be considered fuel. And two, as noted by one individual and echoed by Representative Ziegler, the phrase could be interpreted to prevent a ship from disposing of certain waste generated by the crew or through the operation of the ship during a voyage. As noted by DEP, there's also a term, another jurisdiction, that's used in the bill, also undefined. DEP noted that it could mean another state, county, municipality, or other jurisdictional division, which of course could prove problematic. We don't have any fiscal information yet, and I can answer any questions you might have.
Representative Bloom, your hand is up. Do you have an additional question, or no? Okay. Any questions about the bill analysis? Any comments? Actually, before we go too far, I noticed Representative Johansson has joined us. Would you mind introducing yourself, Representative?
Good morning. Thank you, Senator. My name is Chris Johansson. I represent the 18 organized towns between Bridgewater and Sherman in southern Aroostook County. Good morning.
Welcome. Okay, any conversation? Yes, Representative Dudera.
Thank you very much, Chair Brenner. I really appreciate the sponsor bringing this bill forward, and I like the intent of it because this spill has certainly impacted my district adversely, and I don't like it. So I really appreciate that he has put this forward. It sounds like there are some challenges with the bill as written, and so for that reason, I would move not to pass.
Is there a second?
Second.
Representative Ziegler is a second. Any additional conversation? Senator Bennett.
Yeah, I'll be voting against the motion. I think that the only really issue that I see in this bill is the use of the term another jurisdiction, which I think complicates it according to the analysis. The other issues relating to Commerce Clause are all litigable, and I don't think they would be litigated. I think we'd be stating very clearly what our intent is as a state. And you know, if a state actor, incinerator, wishes to go against this law and challenge it, I'd say, you know, that's always a valid course of action if they wish to display that kind of hostility to the intentions of the people of Maine as indicated by their elected representatives. So I'll be voting against the motion, and I would be offering an ought to pass as amended report, which would be, it would, in the line 5, it would say waste originating from another country, and ended at that. And just before I finish, I'd also just say, I just think it's absurd that we're sending waste all over the world, because it's just you know, that takes up energy and weight. It creates waste in and of itself. And promoting this transportation of waste around the world, whether it's generated in the US and sent to China, or generated in Ireland and sent to Maine, I think we got to start recognizing and dealing with our own responsibilities and not passing them off to people maybe less fortunate than us. Thank you. Can
you just quickly state your amendment one more time?
Yeah, so it's a simple bill as it's written. So I would just take out the word jurisdiction, or the two words jurisdiction or, from line 5. So that it would read, a port on navigable waters in the state may not receive from a vessel plastic waste originating from another country.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Representative O'Connor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually was going to say I was going to vote against this motion because of exactly what Senator Bennett said. I think it's really important, and I think that this shows that we are really intent on keeping Maine clean, and there is no reason for us to be taking waste from a foreign country. If they have waste to get rid of, they should get rid of it themselves. So I will be supporting Senator Bennett in his amended motion. Thank you.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Did Senator Bennett get a second on his motion?
I don't believe so.
I would like to second it.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I don't
think it was a motion.
I think the motion that was made was ought not to pass, and so I was just simply stating what my alternative would be.
Thank you. I stand corrected.
Thanks.
Okay. I think we're going to take about a 10-minute break here. Our group will do a little caucus, and we'll be right back.
May I just ask, Madam Chair, Senator Bennett, I am intrigued when you were talking about the legal opinion. Have you actually sought, have you talked to anybody about the legality of the interstate commerce and whether that would hold up? Because that makes a big difference for me.
Yeah, I understand that, Representative Darren. I appreciate that. I have not. The language as in the analysis would suggest that it is not a defined and certain part of the law here, and that there seems to be wiggle room that may be subject to interpretation. And it's on that that I say, I don't think we should presuppose what the law is and what a ruling may say in court. And that's why I think the policy imperative trumps the possible vulnerability to challenge.
Representative Bloom, did you want to?
Yes, thank you,
Okay.
Senator. I was looking for some more information. I don't have exactly what happened at the public hearing. How much waste do we accept from other countries now? Did we find that out? And what monetary value do we get from it? Did we, was that covered at all in the public hearing?
I suppose I can answer that. The only discussion was with respect to the shredded plastic waste that was imported from Northern Ireland by PERC. I believe it was approximately 5,000 tons, and it was suggested that it was not the first of those shipments they had received, but there were no specifics given in terms of, I think, the information you're looking for.
So we don't know how much we receive on an annual basis in general. We don't know how much money it means to us. That's an unknown as far as we're concerned right now. Thank you.
Representative Ziegler.
Thank you, Senator. In the discussion that we had in the public hearing, there is the issue of vessels offloading their own plastic waste, which you cannot dispose of at sea. And I just want to make sure that if we do pass this, that in no way would that disallow vessels from discharging their plastic waste. Because one of the reasons we're allowed to discharge plastic waste is we don't want to do that at sea.
Mhm.
And I also think that you're on a slippery slope with international treaties. But if you want to go to litigation, Senator Bennett, we have plenty of lawyers.
Representative Dudera.
Thank you. I do believe Representative Bloom was ahead of me, so I'm going to let her go first and then I'll go after her. Thanks.
Nope, she's got a residual hand.
Okay, thank you. Perhaps, and I'm looking to Dan for some help. Representative Ziegler brings up an important point. I mean, we don't want to try to be protecting the oceans from plastics, and then we're encouraging people to dump their plastics because they can't offload them when they get here. And I'm talking about their ship waste or their personal plastic waste, or however we would put that. Could we amend my motion so that that is included in this bill so that it's, anyway, Dan, I'm looking to you for help. Help me, Dan, help me.
I thought your motion was ought not to pass.
I know, I just am realizing that as I said that. But I'm thinking now if we, well, let's hear the rest of the discussion. But I think this is a very important point, that's one of the flaws in this bill, clearly a flaw. If we could correct that flaw and we're not afraid of the litigation that may happen, then we may have something that some more of us can get behind.
Representative Hanley. You're on mute, Representative.
I'm discovering that I can't have 2 pages up and have my microphone off at the same time. I'm going to try to go back to the page. Yes, all right. Now, I would offer an amendment to the amendment and to on line 4, you may not receive for profit, to add the word for profit, plastic waste originating from another country. Add the prohibition of profit, or the addition of the word profit for this. That way, I mean, you would eliminate the issue of trying to offload the normal, garbage that would be generated on board a ship that needs to get taken care of. So I think if we simply add the word for profit to this legislation, that'll clear that up.
Senator Bennett?
Thank you. I appreciate the direction of the discussion, and I appreciate Representative Ziegler's early remarks and your concern, Representative Ziegler, about waste generated at sea. I don't know if that would be interpreted as being generated in another country or not. I wouldn't think so, but at any rate, just to clear up one statement you made, Representative Ziegler, I do not want litigation. It would be up to the people who decide to flout the expressed will of the representatives of Maine people, whether they wish to litigate under this very clear statement that we would be making. And if they want to try to assert certain rights to bring their trash into Maine, well, okay, let them do that, and they can challenge it in court. But I would hope they wouldn't. I would hope that their sense of ethics would suggest that they want to be responsible partners with us, and that they wouldn't do that.
Representative Ziegler?
And Senator Bennett, I don't want trash to come into this state either. And one of the reasons it came in is that we were looking at trash to energy. So this is a much larger issue than just these 2 bales of plastic coming in. But that said, I don't agree with Representative Hanley in just using the term not for profit, because if they discharge the trash, then there is going to be an exchange of money. I think we should be very specific that that plastic waste generated on the vessel in transit be allowed to be discharged. I would like to see those specific words used. And so we don't have a vagueness around this bill.
Okay. I sense that we are going to need to revisit the motion that's on the floor. Representative Tucker? Oh. You're muted, Representative.
I heard Senator Brenner indicate that she wanted to take a break, and I can continue arguing this. I think we have gone into a fantasy land discussion, and it's bordering on irresponsible. And I want to know if you want me to unload now or after a break.
After a break.
Okay.
After a break.
Let's take 10 minutes. It's 11:20. We'll gear back up 11:30. Thank you.
How long do you think it'll be, kids?
I don't know. We're just sitting here in the light of day, having
Huh.
a discussion, which I thought was very useful for the public discourse, but.
I thought it was a great discussion. Those were really great ideas, and I agree with them 1,000%. Could have just had a vote.
Or just have an open public discussion.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, we are still on and we're still being streamed.
Oh my. Well,
That's right, we're still live on air. You want to remember that.
I did get up and put the pillowcases on the pillows. Sitting still isn't my strong suit.
I'm gonna fill up my non-plastic water bottle.
I got an old-fashioned glass.
Can anybody tell me how the votes went this morning on the previous LDs?
So LD 1540 was Representative Ziegler's bill. It was ONTP with a letter to the department. Then LD 640 was the plastic water bill that was ought not to pass unanimous. And 909 also was ONTP. And now we're on 911.
Thank you.
Certainly.
All right. Thank you all for that brief moment. Give everyone a chance to find the link. Yes, Representative Dudera.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm feeling like after this discussion that I'd like to withdraw my motion because there's just too many unanswered questions still. And I really want to chase down the constitutionality of this. So I'd like to withdraw my motion.
So this is a very freshman question, but do we need a second to withdraw a motion? Or is...
Well,
No,
Paige
okay.
was the second.
Right, right.
I'm allowing the withdrawal. I withdraw my second.
Great. Representative Gramlich.
Thank you, Senator. I'd like to move to table this bill.
Second.
So we can't talk about it anymore after we table it.
And it's a non-debatable motion.
All right. So we have a table motion on the floor. Everybody in favor of tabling, raise your hand. Okay. Did you get that, Sabrina?
Yes, I did.
Did you ask for anybody in opposition?
Anybody in opposition to the tabling? Representative Hanley, Representative O'Connor. Okay. So if I would like more information for the work session next time, when would I ask for it? Publicly here, or shall I email you, Dan? Now that the motion's been tabled, now that the bill's been tabled.
It's up to you, I guess.
Okay. Is everyone comfortable if I ask for my information now? Okay, so I want to know about the volume of waste that's coming in. And I want to know the dollar amount of the waste that's coming in. And I would like feedback from the Attorney General about the constitutionality of this law as written.
I can certainly see if DEP has any information on the first part. I'm not sure if that's anything that's tracked, but I can follow up with them and obviously the Attorney General on the second part.
Thank you. Okay, that I believe closes our public hearing for LD 911.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
are other people permitted to ask for information as well?
of course.
Yeah, on this constitutionality question, which I gather is a question that is intended to go to the AG, is that right?
That's correct.
There were several issues that were raised by the department, who I think their position was neither for nor against, so they didn't view them as dispositive. But there seemed to be several legal issues that were, in addition to constitutional questions that were raised. And I would think that we'd want, if we're going to ask their advice, to ask them on the full suite of legal issues that the DEP raised.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, Representative Bloom.
Yeah, and just for clarification as well, since I think we're focusing on off country, out of country, foreign country waste, not out of state. So we can zero in on that data.
Yes. Representative Ziegler.
I just wanted to correct you, Senator. You said that completes the public hearing. This is a work session.
Thank you. Okay, so we're completing.
Sorry, real quick. Representative Bloom's last comment, was that in reference to the data from DEP or in reference to a legal opinion from the Attorney General, or both?
Well, since I think it'd probably be for both, because that's what we're really focused on. Yes.
Is there, I mean, there was no motion made other than ought not to pass. Is that the consensus of the committee, that we've moved past prohibiting waste from another jurisdiction and just to a foreign country?
I think the motion was rescinded and then we tabled the bill.
I understand that. I suppose I could ask the question as presented in the bill and then as an alternative. I just wouldn't want to preclude getting information on the original bill, since no motion or consensus was ever reached on any actual substantive amendment.
So perhaps both would be helpful. Okay, are we all set on 9/11? Okay, so we're going to close the work session on 9/11 and we're going to open a work session on 9/46, which is a resolve to authorize Maine as the non-federal sponsor with the United States Army Corps of Engineers for the shore damage mitigation project in Saco. So we've done an analysis on this bill. Yes, Representative Tucker.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay, we've done an analysis on this bill, so I don't believe we need to go back there. We have an amendment. I would like to invite the sponsor in to share with us. I believe she's here. Representative Copeland.
Good morning,
Madam Chair, and Senator Bennett and Representative Tucker and the rest of the esteemed committee. Thank you for analyzing the bill.
Representative,
Yes.
Copeland, if you could just give us an update since we last spoke about where you are with the bill.
I believe the analyst has polished the version, and I am good with that. So if you've seen the one that he's just done yesterday, then I am very grateful for an ought to pass.
Okay, so Dan, would you mind walking us through the amendment so that we can all familiarize ourselves with it before we vote?
Sure. So I just sent it out in a block of materials, most of which were old materials. Let me share the amendment that was referred to. And so I do want to make clear that at Representative Tucker's direction, I prepared a sort of modified, cleaned up version of what I would likely be doing to the amendment, the redlined amendment that was proposed last time, if the committee were to have voted ought to pass as amended. So I believe this is consistent with the amendment distributed last time, at least the substance of it. And as the sponsor just stated, she's comfortable with this language as well. So it's still a resolve, and it directs the governor to take all actions the governor deems necessary to assist and support the city of Saco in their role as the non-federal federal sponsor with the Army Corps of Engineers for the shore damage mitigation project in Saco Bay. And that includes, but is not limited to, directing any relevant state agencies to assist the city in its entering into a project partnership agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers for the construction of the project, and directing any relevant state agencies to assist and support the city of Saco and other communities on Saco Bay in the construction of the project and in implementing other beach and beach habitat remediation projects in and around Saco Bay, as recommended by, once you get to the end of that long list, the Maine Geological Survey, including but not limited to dune planting projects. So my understanding is that the sponsor is comfortable with this language. It is largely and substantively based on the prior amendment, which I understand from the sponsor that the administration is comfortable with. I don't believe they have reviewed this specific language yet, but I believe Director Marvini, the state geologist, is here. Yes, he is. He just raised his hand, and he may have additional input. And I did send this to him as well right now, so he's just seen it. I can answer any questions. I'll stop my share though.
Thank you. Are there any initial questions for Dan about the amendment? Yes, Representative Tucker.
Just to supplement the discussion, I sent copies not only of the markup, but also the final version to Dr. Marvini, and he can speak for himself. They've had it overnight.
All right, I'm going to bring Mr. Marvini in. Welcome, Mr. Marvini.
All right, good morning. Thank you, Senator Brenner and Representative Tucker, members of the committee, to speak on this this bill. We've reviewed the amended language, and we're comfortable with it as amended.
Representative Copeland, did you have a comment to add?
I just wanted to let you know that there was an email from the governor's office, and they are in agreement with this language as well.
Does the committee have any comments? Yes, Representative O'Connor.
That's okay. I don't know who I am anymore either. I just wanted to thank the Representative Copeland for this bill, the amendment. I read it this morning very, very early, and it really good job and moving this forward and doing a good job. I just want to thank her for her hard work. Thank you, Representative O'Connor.
Representative O'Connor, would you be interested in a motion?
I certainly would. I would like to vote ought to pass as amended.
Second.
Lots of seconds. We'll go with Representative Gramlich. Any more comments, questions, thoughts from the committee? All right, I believe we are ready for a vote.
Okay. Senator Brenner,
Yes.
Representative Tucker,
Yes.
Senator Bennett,
Yes.
Representative Hanley,
Yes.
Senator Carney, absent. Representative Bell,
Yes.
Representative Bloom,
Yes.
Representative Dudera,
Yes.
Representative Gramlich,
Yes.
Representative Johansson,
Yes.
Representative O'Connor,
Yes.
Representative Toole, absent. Representative Ziegler.
Yes.
11 yes, 2 absent.
Congratulations, Representative Copeland.
Thank you very kindly.
Thanks for joining us.
My first bill. I did it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're gonna close, oh goodness, I lost my notes here, hold on. We're gonna close our work session on 9:46, and then we're going to, I think 12:08 is next, but I lost my little piece of paper. Hold on, everyone. Okay. Yes, 12:08 is next. 12:08 is an act to amend the state's electronic waste recycling law.
What about 1161? Oh, that's S. Okay. That's a different person. Sorry.
That's okay. We're going to come back around. All right. Any comments from the committee? Dan, do you want to walk us through?
Sure. I just sent out an analysis and I can go through that. LD 1208 is Senator Stewart's bill, an act to amend the state's electronic waste recycling law. The bill amends the state's e-waste law by requiring that no later than January 1st, 2023, manufacturers of certain electronic devices, individually or collectively through a manufacturer clearinghouse, must design and implement a statewide manufacturer e-waste program to provide for the collection, transportation, consolidation, and recycling of collected electronic devices in the state. The DEP shall review and approve plans for the implementation of such a program and shall enforce program requirements. The bill also repeals or amends certain provisions of the existing e-waste recycling law to align those provisions with the new program requirements. As noted by DEP, the state's e-waste law was enacted in 2004 as the country's first extended producer responsibility or EPR program for electronics. Since its inception in 2006, more than 100 million pounds of TVs, printers, game consoles, and other electronic devices with screens have been recycled through the program. Under the program, manufacturers pay much of the cost of recycling these items. I've noted here the individuals and entities that testified for, against, or neither for nor against the bill. The first note I have is regarding the DEP rulemaking. At the hearing, the DEP noted it has completed a first draft of proposed amendments to the e-waste rules and intends to initiate a rulemaking on those changes this year. DEP believes those changes will result in an improved e-waste recycling system that provides incentives for collection and efficiency. Given this pending rulemaking, the sponsor, Senator Stewart, requests the committee consider carrying the bill over to the 2022 legislative session for further consideration following the completion of that rulemaking. There was some dispute over the intent or effect of the bill. The DEP and other bill opponents suggested that changes to the e-waste program proposed in the bill may shift certain program costs from manufacturers to municipalities and consumers, may limit e-waste collection opportunities in rural areas and otherwise reduce program convenience to consumers, and it may increase e-waste recycling costs to municipalities. Proponents of the bill countered that the intent of the bill is not to reduce the availability of recycling or to shift or increase cost. Instead, as suggested by the CTA, the intent is to change the e-waste program's administration to a producer responsibility organization model, which was not an option for the electronics industry until quite recently. The intent is also to allow consideration of climate impacts as part of the manufacturer implemented system and to incentivize the production of more easily recyclable or environmentally friendly electronics. There was some discussion at the hearing about program costs. In response to a number of member questions, bill proponents provided some information on other state e-waste programs and their associated costs. It was suggested that the comparative cost of Maine's program is on the higher end of the spectrum, in line with other states like Connecticut, Hawaii, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island, and is more than double the cost of other states like Indiana, Illinois, Minnesota, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Wisconsin. Bill proponents were asked to provide for work session more information on the cost of Maine's e-waste program compared to other states. It was suggested by Casella, which testified in opposition, that one of the primary reasons that Maine's e-waste program costs are higher than other states has to do with the geography and population distribution of the state rather than any specific program parameters. We don't have any fiscal information available at this time. And I guess I will also note that that requested information at the public hearing about the cost of Maine's program compared to other states is not something I have seen yet. I don't know if that was provided directly to anyone who requested that. I'm happy to answer any questions about the analysis or about the bill.
Does anyone have any specific questions for Dan about the analysis or the bill? So I'll start off our conversation here. I find it so remarkable when there is a agreement between NRCM, Casella, and the DEP, which leads me down the path of feeling like this is not a piece of legislation that I want to support at this time. I think the intention is good, but I think we have a program that's working. And I'd rather see changes happen at this point by waiting to see what the DEP comes back with in their rulemaking session. Senator Bennett.
Thank you. Just a question for, is the representative of the DEP in the room? I'd have a question for.
Paula Clark. I'll bring her over.
I just wanted to ask you a couple questions about the rulemaking.
Welcome, Ms. Clark.
Good morning. I'm also on the call Brian Beneski and Elena Bertacci, who work very closely with the program, and they're available to answer questions as well. But I'd be happy to try to respond to your questions, Senator Bennett.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. I appreciate that. Just some basic questions, really. I take it the rules that you'll be doing are an update of existing rules. Is that right?
That is correct. Over the past year and a half or so, there have been discussions between the department and some of the interested parties that testified at the hearing about some of the issues with the rule. And there is agreement between us that there are certain improvements that could be made, and they have raised some valid concerns that we certainly agree with. Okay. So we've directed our efforts in the rulemaking to try to address those issues.
And these are routine and technical rules, I trust.
Yes, they are.
And do you have a sense of timing as to when your rulemaking will be complete?
I'm not able to say when it will be complete, but as mentioned in the hearing, we do have, a complete first draft that we've begun internal review of. And it is something that we want to move along as quickly as possible. So it is, it's in the works. It has not been distributed for comment publicly yet, but we do want to move it along as quickly as we can.
Okay, just finally, it would be wonderful, since this committee is dealing with waste issues all the time. I'd really personally benefit from as soon as it's publicly available of your advertently sending a copy to our committee so that we could see the draft. That would be, I'd certainly benefit from that.
Definitely. We'll make sure that happens.
Thank you so much.
Representative Hanley?
Yes, thank you, Senator. After listening to Daniel's assessment of this, I think the best route is for a carryover. And that way, we have something in place later, if we need it, that we can further legislation with. So my motion will be to carry this bill over.
Representative Hanley, are you making a motion or talking about the motion that you might make?
I would like to make a motion to carry this bill over.
Okay, is there a second?
I would second that.
Okay. Representative O'Connor, did you have additional questions or points that you wanted to offer?
Those were the points that I wanted to make. His hand went up right before I did. I think it's really important, just in case we do need this in the future. I'm not sure how many bills we've carried over. I don't recall that we have as of yet. And I believe we had 7. And I think this is a really important issue that we should continue to look at. Thank you.
Representative Tucker. You're on mute, Representative.
I plan to vote against the motion to carry over. I don't see any real reason to carry over except to hold it over the head of the department. It can be brought back through the Legislative Council. Committee chairs have received instructions from leadership that we should discourage carryovers. They do not want to have 500 bills next year. We only get 7 carryovers. The department is in the middle of a vigorous rulemaking effort. And so I think it would be better to start with a clean slate, because the language that's in this bill may be totally irrelevant to what happens over the summer and next fall. Thank you.
Representative O'Connor. Okay. Additional comments from the committee? Okay. So we have a motion on the floor for carryover with a second.
Okay. Senator Brenner,
No.
Representative Tucker,
No.
Senator Bennett,
No.
Representative Hanley,
Yes.
Senator Carney, absent. Representative Bell,
No.
Representative Bloom,
No.
Representative Dudera,
No.
Representative Gramlich,
No.
Representative Johansson,
Yes.
Representative O'Connor,
Yes.
Representative Toole, absent. Representative Ziegler.
No.
Three yes, 8 no, 2 absent.
Yes, Representative Tucker.
I would at this time like to move ought not to pass on LD 1208.
Is there a second?
Second.
Representative Bloom's a second. Any additional conversation? All right, we're ready for the vote, Sabrina.
Okay. Senator Brenner,
Yes.
Representative Tucker,
Yes.
Senator Bennett,
Yes.
Representative Hanley,
No.
Senator Carney, absent. Representative Bell,
Yes.
Representative Bloom,
Yes.
Representative Dudera,
Yes.
Representative Gramlich,
Yes.
Representative Johansson.
No.
Representative O'Connor,
No.
Representative Toole, absent. Representative Ziegler.
Yeah.
8 yes, 3 no, 2 absent.
And the minority report.
Not to pass. Excuse me, ought to pass.
All right. So that closes our work session on LD 1208. And next up we have LD 5. Oh, we did that one already. LD 1161. So we move on over to Deirdre. Is she ready for us, or are you going to hang in there, Dan?
So if we're going to swap off, we'll need a short break. Sorry.
Maybe we should take lunch. I just realized it's noon.
Right, we could do that. I also have 2 language reviews. I don't know if you wanted to do that now or afterwards. It doesn't matter to me.
Let's take a lunch break. I think everyone could use a moment, and then we'll come back. Let's do 45 minutes, so 12:45.
Great.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Well, thank you for the lunch break.
You're so welcome. I used it to go testify on a bill.
We had a lunch break. I was sitting here for, why didn't somebody tell me?
So sorry.
It's okay, I need to lose weight.
Well, we don't want you to not eat to lose weight. You just need to, right?
Not sit through Zoom meetings every day. That might
Yeah.
I jump on my bicycle when we take our lunch breaks.
Stationary or real?
Well, they're both real, but one's stationary. No, the real one that goes down the road. And just because I want to get outdoors too. I mean, that's the big thing.
All right, everybody ready? We are going to launch into a work session on LD 1161, an act concerning marina-based restaurants in a shoreland zone. So the last we talked about this bill, we tabled it per Senator Bennett's request for a little more time to think about it. And I believe that Deirdre, welcome Deirdre, nice to see you.
Good to
has
see you.
an amendment to present.
Sure. So I distributed the amendment this morning and I just resent it again. So it's at the top of your email box. And this amendment would replace the bill as it exists and enact an exemption under the shoreline zoning laws that would allow a municipality to adopt an ordinance that would allow the expansion of an existing restaurant that is part of an existing marina, as long as the restaurant expansion is not located over a water body or wetland, and that the restaurant expansion is not located any closer to the water body or wetland than any existing structures that are part of the marina. And it would require that the restaurant and marina have been in existence as of January 1st, 2021. So it only applied to those that are existing currently and not additional new restaurants associated with marinas. And then one other additional thing, while it exempts it from the setback requirements and the idea of expansions within 25 feet, it would require that this kind of expansion would meet other applicable state and local permitting requirements and rules. So the only really exemption is from those setback requirements and the prohibition on expansions within 25 feet.
Senator Bennett, did you have any comments about your amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to say that, first of all, great thanks to the committee for giving a little bit of time and extending that courtesy to see if this bill could be reworked in an acceptable format. That the intent of this amendment is to be very narrow, narrowly drawn, and really to give existing restaurants located at marinas, not new ones, but existing ones, a chance to grow as long as the local town thinks it's okay, and as long as it's not moving toward the water and or over the water. And I want to just also say thank you to Deirdre for her hard work to prepare this in the midst of everything else she's doing. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions, additional comments from the committee? Okay.
Madam Chair, if it's appropriate, I'd move on to pass as amended with this amendment.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Are there any additional comments? Yes, Representative Tucker.
I plan to vigorously oppose this amendment. It's just another example of nibbling away at our shoreland protections. I want to see what the reaction will be from many people who have not seen this amendment yet. The myriad unanimous environmental organizations who oppose the expansion, and the several dozen opponents who came here and testified on it. I think, I don't think that this will be well received, and I will be opposing it. Thank you.
Any additional comments from the committee? Discussion? Yes, Representative Ziegler.
Is Representative Tucker then proposing a table?
No, I'm ready to just be outvoted. They'll give me a chance to make a big speech on the House floor.
Representative Hanley. You're
Yes,
muted.
thank you, Senator. I plan to vigorously support this. In fact, if I had my way, I'd expand it. The idea of a restaurant establishing, this amendment simply allows the enlarging of an existing restaurant facility. It doesn't allow the construction of a new one. If I was writing it, it would allow constructions of new ones, simply because under our current law, you can have all kinds of activities at marinas, up to and including fish processing plants. And I should imagine they'd be a lot more risky as far as environmental issues than a family restaurant, you know. So I'll be supporting this, and I'll have my speech ready for the floor as well. Thank you.
Okay, I would love to hear what Mr. Livesay has, what thoughts he has about the amendment. And I have a question for you, Senator Bennett, about scale. So in this amendment, I don't see anything about how large you could expand your restaurant in terms of square feet or seating, or, I mean, are we talking about like a open invitation to build banquet halls, or are we talking about like expanding to add another, you know, half a dozen to a dozen tables to a existing business?
Would you like me to answer that while we're waiting for Mr. Livesay?
Yes, please.
All right. Well, as it says, and as Deirdre explained, it says in part 4DB that it must meet the requirements of the subsection, must meet all other state and local permit requirements and comply with other applicable rules. My understanding of that is it would build in inherently a limitation on these legal but non-conforming structures. So that's my understanding, and would be pleased to be corrected by Deirdre if I've misspoken on that element.
Deirdre, do you have a thought about that?
I have a thought, and perhaps if I'm wrong, Mr. Livesay is behind me to clarify. I'm not sure with the way this is structured, because we're not talking about as a legal existing non-conforming structure, that those non-conforming limitations would apply to this as written. So I'm not sure that there is necessarily a cap on the size unless other things come into place, like lot size coverage, or if there was vegetation or other pieces in there that might play in. But I'm not sure as a default that the non-conforming structure limitations on expansions would necessarily cap the expansion on this as drafted.
I would just add before Mr. Livesay speaks that again, this is a municipal option here. So the town would have to vote to put this in their ordinances.
Mr. Livesay, could you enlighten us as to your thoughts on the amendment?
I'm not sure I can enlighten you, but I can share my thoughts. So first of all, I certainly appreciate what Senator Bennett has done here in taking a piece of legislation that the department was certainly opposed to, and while we appreciated sort of the end that was being sought, the approach was not a good one, and this is certainly an improvement. I think that the concerns that we have that remain, well, the bottom line is what this amendment does, and I think it's what's intended to do, is for allow expansion of restaurants at marinas closer to the water. And I guess the concern that we have with that approach is it doesn't take into account sort of other core concepts that are embedded in shoreline zoning with regard to things like the existence of buffers, the extent of impervious development or just developed area already on a lot that are used as basic proxies for, protection of water quality. And so, we have some discomfort with that. I think as a practical matter, lots of marinas have existing structures of one sort close to or right next to the water. So in many instances, I think the practical result would be restaurants could be expanded up to the water or very close to the water, sort of without regard to, other impervious areas or what the runoff consequences might be. And that's the part that makes us, I guess, less than enthusiastic about the amendment, but we certainly recognize it as an improvement.
Any questions for Mr. Livesay? Any additional thoughts from the committee? Yes, Representative Dudera. You're muted, Representative.
Thank you. Mr. Livesay, I heard you saying that they could go closer to the water, but I believe Senator Bennett said that structures would not go closer to the water. So I would just like a clarification on that. Thank you.
I'll let the senator correct me if I'm interpreting what's intended here wrong, but my understanding of the way that this is drafted is if there's an existing structure at the marina, an expansion of the restaurant could go. So let's say you have a restaurant building or a structure where the restaurant is at your facility, and you have at the top of the pier a structure where before you had phones that you could take credit card payments on, you'd run up to get the cash register or run it through the credit card machine when people bought gas at the marina. So there's lots of those. And so my understanding is that you could sort of expand the restaurant closer to the water down to where there's other existing structural development. And that would be a significant change from existing sort of shoreline zoning policy where non-conforming structures can be expanded sort of laterally, if you will, so that they're no closer. And then there are certain limitations on the extent of that expansion as well. And I think that those limitations would be removed by this amendment.
If I may reply as well, Senator, and thank you for the question, Representative Dudera. The intention of the amendment was actually not to allow the restaurant to expand any closer than the existing restaurant is to the water. So I can see now in that section, that paragraph 2, where it could be done that way because it relates to existing structures. So I'd ask Deirdre if we can amend that a little bit to make sure that the existing structure is basically the footprint of the existing restaurant cannot extend. The expansion cannot extend in, closer to the water, because that's not the intent. The intent is to keep any expansion of a restaurant going back away from the water, not finding some means of getting it closer.
And I apologize. I think that was my error in misunderstanding the exact thing. So that's an easy fix.
Thank you.
Does the committee have additional questions or comments, thoughts? Do we feel ready for a vote? Okay.
If you hold on just a second, I'm getting a phone call. Apparently it wasn't important. All right. 1161 ought to pass as amended. There we go again. They can go to voicemail. Senator Brenner,
Yes.
Representative Tucker,
No.
Senator Bennett,
Yes.
Representative Hanley,
Yes.
Senator Carney, absent. Representative Bell,
Yes.
Representative Bloom.
No.
I just need to see you while you're voting for it to count.
You have to unmute.
No.
There you go. We need all of you, the words and the picture.
Representative Dudera,
Yes.
Representative Gramlich, absent. Representative Johansson,
Yes.
Representative O'Connor,
Yes.
Representative Toole, absent. Representative Ziegler.
No.
Seven yes, 3 no, 3 absent.
And I'm just clarifying on that amendment that I'm fixing that number 2 to specify that the expansion can be no closer to the water than the existing restaurant's setback.
Please.
Like it has to be away from the water.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, is there a minority report or?
My report would be ought not to pass.
Agreed.
Okay. We are closing the work session on.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I just, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that Representative Bell may not have been present when the vote's taken. I saw him.
He was. He voted
Oh,
yes.
Okay, thank you, sorry. I was taking notes, but forgive me.
Okay, so closing a work session on 1161. And we're moving on to a work session for 1367, an act to create a grant program to promote innovation in municipal carbon reduction initiatives. Deirdre, do you want to bring us up to speed?
Sure. So this bill establishes the Maine Municipal Carbon Reduction Initiative Program within the Department of Economic and Community Development for the purpose of providing competitive grants for towns and cities to help fund technology and innovation projects that will reduce carbon emissions and that are in line with Maine's Climate Action Plan. It establishes the Maine Municipal Carbon Reduction Initiatives Fund, and it also requires that DECD adopt routine technical rules relating to the competitive application process that will be used to provide grants to municipalities under this program. In testimony, Mr. Draper from Aroostook Waste Solutions suggested an amendment. He said amend the bill to expand the eligibility of the grant funds to include quasi-municipal organizations, regional municipal associations, and special districts. I just will make a note that in the bill, it establishes this fund. And typically when funds are established in statute, language is included detailing how the fund is funded or from which sources funds can be accepted. In this bill, it appears this grant program is established, including the creation of a non-lapsing fund, but there is no funding mechanism identified or sources from which they can receive funding. This could be problematic later on that the legislature might have to delegate each time if funds go into that fund. So for instance, if they were expecting federal funds to come in that they might be able to utilize for this grant fund, it would be helpful to have language if going forward to sort of say the non-lapsing fund could accept any state or federal funds or something very blanket, so they had the authority to receive that money and then spend it in accordance with the statute. And I make that note because I know Brian and Brett from the governor's Office of Policy Innovation in the Future indicated that administration is considering federal American Rescue Plan allocations that may support some municipal infrastructure, economic and energy needs. And so that could be an opportunity to fund that fund if going forward. In addition, it requires DECD to solicit applications regardless of the availability of funds. And so again, if moving forward, since no funding mechanism is identified in the bill, the committee may want to consider adding language that specifies the department shall solicit applications to the extent funds are available. So those are just a couple of technical notes or issues on the bill. And otherwise, at this time, no fiscal impact has been determined. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
All right. Are there any questions for Deirdre? Any thoughts around the legislation? Yes, Representative Tucker.
I'd like to move ought not to pass on LD 1367.
Anybody want to second that?
Second.
Representative O'Connor, any further discussion?
Yes, could I expand?
Yes, please.
There was very little enthusiasm for this program from either the governor's Office of Policy in the Future, nor from the Maine Municipal Association. It's a competitive bid program, which has some problems in that it's a race that the swiftest will always win. It seems like a good idea, but there's no money there. And I've checked with Mr. Hubble and representatives of the governor's office, and they're going in a different direction from grant funding. They would rather deal with these issues, similar issues, in the supplemental budget and bring the money in a different fashion rather than as competitive grants. That's the reason that I oppose the bill, not because it's a bad idea, but it just doesn't fit in the current programs. Thank you.
Representative O'Connor.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Representative Tucker. I guess my real opposition to this was the funding stream that was the non-existent funding stream. And I've found in the past that we've had problems with that, and I didn't think it was a good path to wander down.
Representative Dudera.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And if I could just add to what Representative Tucker said, I mean, not only are the competitive grant programs for the swiftest, but they're also for the best endowed communities. So it doesn't seem fair to me sometimes that communities that can afford to have people on staff that can chase these things down, get funds, while communities that don't have those kinds of resources are not as able to access it.
Representative Bloom.
Yes, I agree with Representative Dudera on that point. I also think that some of the best approaches to helping towns is in a regional approach where towns get together. And so being able to help regionalization of towns so they can receive these funds would be another way. So I think there are, the Climate Council did explore lots of different ways. And it's going to be a mixture of things that are finally going to help these towns achieve these goals.
Anyone else have a comment or a question, thought? Are we ready for a vote? All right, let's do it.
All right. Senator Brenner.
Yes.
Representative Tucker.
Yes.
Senator Bennett.
Yes.
Representative Hanley. Absent. Senator Carney. Absent. Representative Bell.
Yes.
Representative Bloom.
Yes.
Representative Dudera.
Yes.
Representative Gramlich,
Yes.
Representative Johansson,
You're on mute, Representative. Representative Johansson, you're on mute. We're just waiting for your vote. There you go.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to pass on this vote. I had something I had to deal with and I'm just back, so I didn't hear the motion.
it's LD 1367 ought not to pass. It's the motion.
Yes.
Thank you. Representative O'Connor,
Yes.
Representative Toole, absent. Representative Ziegler,
Let's make it unanimous, yes.
10 yes, 3 absent.
Because you already have mine, right?
All right, so that closes the work session on LD 1367. And that brings us to our last bill of the day for work session, which is LD 1415. Well,
So this is a very long title, an act regarding minor revisions to existing site location permits, exemptions for rerouting stormwater, and exemptions for new construction or modification of an existing licensed development under the site location of development laws. So this bill amends the site location of development laws administered by the Department of Environmental Protection. It specifies the department must process minor revisions to permits within 90 calendar days. It specifies that new construction at or modification of existing licensed development is exempt from review if the construction or modification does not involve a new, which is the new language, division of the parcel, and it exempts from review under site law an alteration or modification to the stormwater design of an existing licensed development if the alteration or modification is specific to stormwater routing, stormwater treatment or storage measures are consistent with existing permit, flow rates at impacted points of analysis are not increased above rates established in the existing permit. And prior to commencing the work, a statement stamped by a licensed engineer is provided to the municipality in which the development is located that the alteration or modification meets the requirements for exemption. At the hearing, I don't think they testified live, but in written testimony, people from the Maine Water Environment Association suggested amendments that would apply to that rerouting water section and said to add a definition of stormwater routing, change the language regarding who receives notice to include the DEP in the municipal planning office, LUPC or officials where the project is located to assess if additional local approvals are required, and include additional requirements to qualify for exemption from review. I will make a note, just this session, we've had quite a few bills on site law and some overlaps with some of the concepts and ideas, and I won't go through all of it when you have your analysis in front of you. I did list all the site law bills that have been before the committee and what the final votes were and what those bills or amendments did for your reference. And the only other point I'll make is I read the testimony of the city of Westbrook regarding what was intended by the addition of the word new on the division of parcel of land. I'm not sure this does exactly what they were trying to do. I'm not sure I really fully understand that piece, if that works for what they're trying to achieve. So if you have some follow-up, that might be a good question to pose to DEP if going forward. And I'll take any questions if anyone has any.
great, thank you. Are there any questions about the bill analysis? Okay, so I'll start off. I've given this bill a lot of thought as, in addition to the suite of bills that came from Senator Keim prior to this. And I think that what I'd like to do as a committee is amend this bill and turn it into a resolve and spend some time researching with DEP what it would take in terms of staffing and budget to get to a place where we could offer businesses a timeline for how quickly they might be able to anticipate getting a permit, what that would cost, and what kind of staffing DEP would need in order to accomplish helping the regulated community move more quickly and more predictably through their processes. So I have a number of developers in my district, a lot of sand and gravel folks, and this is an issue that's pretty important to my district. And I want to make sure that we're thinking wisely as all of this money comes in from the federal government and we engage in all these infrastructure projects about how we're going to support the department in the work that it needs to do without degrading our role protecting the environment. So that's the direction that I would like to take this in, and I would love for the commissioner to come over. She's in the attendee space and offer some thoughts about that. So I'm going to bring her over, and Senator Bennett, maybe you can ask your question while I'm bringing Commissioner Loisem in. Actually, I can bring her in because I'm not a host. So Sabrina, if you could indulge me.
Well, I just wanted to say briefly while Commissioner Loisem's coming over that I subscribe thoroughly to your suggestion. I think it's really smart. I mean, I learned the same thing regarding when Senator Kine was presenting her bills, that this is a problem, but it's a problem because we need ample resource to make sure the environment is protected and economic growth in a sensible way can proceed. And I think that's a very sensible idea you have, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Bennett. Welcome, Commissioner. Could you share with us your thoughts about a proposed resolve that might move in that direction?
Well, I can try. I'm very glad, I guess, that I was still logged into this and had not gone on to listen to you on YouTube. So thank you for inviting me to join you. Good afternoon. Senator Brenner, Representative Tucker, members of the committee. I'm Melanie Loisem, Commissioner, Department of Environmental Protection. I think that we are anticipating that in the coming days and within the next week, there will be some additional detail regarding potential resources for the department, for additional processing capacity, for licensing and other environmental permitting. We've seen some of that already incorporated as proposals for the federal funding in the governor's package that was just released. I agree with what we've heard expressed by others and understand the need for the department to be able to process permit applications in a timely way to support economic development and investment. We are painfully cognizant of the effect that department permitting has on investment in the state. So we are hearing you all and certainly appreciate your interest in supporting the agency and being able to meet the needs of our constituents. So in terms of a resolve, the department would be happy to work with you all. I might suggest, however, there may be some advantage to seeing what ultimately is placed before you as part of a full budget package, because there may be some opportunity and some nexus there in what is brought to you as part of legislation to vote on that's connected to that budget. So I think there's quite a bit that is going to come to you in terms of additional detail to process and consider. I'd say within the next week or so. You all are trying to get through an awful lot in a short period of time, and there's a bunch of potential funding opportunities that will be in front of you that are connected to this, that it would be good for you to be able to all consider in concert.
Any additional comments from the committee or questions for the commissioner? All right, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
the committee have any comments?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
You made a suggestion. I trust you're going to formulate direct our analyst to write a redraft of this as a resolve. Is that what the intent is?
Yes, I think my intent would be to offer a motion to table so that we can consider resolve language and perhaps hold off until we see what the budget looks like for Commissioner Loisam's suggestion and move forward from there.
Thank you.
Is that a motion to table?
It's a motion to table. Second?
Second.
Second, yep.
Everybody want to vote? And those in opposition? Representative Graham, did you have are you frozen? No.
I thought we were taking a roll call. I support the tabling motion. I apologize.
No problem. Okay, so it's unanimous to table. Okay, thank you, everyone. That closes the work session on LD 1415. And my understanding is that we are postponing LD 1467 for another day.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And so I'm going to pass it over to Dan for language review.
So let me just send them real quick. So first is LD 226. I did want to screen share, so just give me a second. So as I noted in the email you just sent, I'm sorry, you just received that I just sent you. This was an act to limit the use of hydrofluorocarbons to fight climate change. This is a DEP bill. It was voted majority ought to pass as amended by 10 members, minority ought not to pass. That report has Representatives Hanley and O'Connor on it, and Senator Carney was recorded as absent. And let me screen share right here because I do have a note. So as you recall, there was an amendment presented by Representative Tucker prior to the public hearing that was largely an updated version of the committee amendment to LD 2112, which was essentially the prior version of this bill in the 129th. That has been finalized here in terms of the language. I don't believe there have been any truly substantive changes made. I did want to note two changes. One, in the definition of use, what you see right here, there were some questions that came up as part of our internal reviews in OPLA about sort of what parts of the definition in the amendment meant, because they defined the term use by using the term use. That's not confusing enough. So I went back to DEP and we talked about a way to make that definition clearer, and this is what we came up with. So I believe that it's largely a technical change, but I did want to note it here. So use now is defined with regard to a substance to include, but not be limited to, consumption, incorporation, or inclusion in a manufacturing process or product in the state, consumption for an end use in the state, and consumption, incorporation, or inclusion in an intermediate application in the state, such as formulation or packaging for other subsequent applications. That second sentence was not changed from the prior draft. So both my office and the DEP felt that was a little clearer way to phrase that definition. The only other note I wanted to make was there is in some of these HFC prohibitions, for example, the one right here that's labeled subparagraph 21, there's a description in the middle of blends of HFC 365 MFC, and it says with 4% or more HFC 245 FA. The prior draft we had read with at least 4% rather than 4% or more. And since it's a prohibition, following conversations with the revisor's office, it was determined, and with feedback from DEP, that it made more sense to refer to it as 4% or more rather than at least 4%. Functionally speaking, it's the same thing. But knowing that this bill was very detail oriented and it's gone through many reviews, any changes this late in the game, I wanted to be clear on. So there is a fiscal note, which is it notes a minor cost increase to the general fund and to other special revenue funds, noting that any additional cost to DEP as a result of the prohibitions in the bill are anticipated to be minor and can be absorbed within existing budgeted resources. I can answer any questions about that. Again, this is a divided report. Once it's released, we'll have to get jacket signatures to the process I'm sure you've all become familiar with now.
Representative Tucker.
I just want to thank Dan for the stylistic changes that were made. They don't really change what we voted on earlier. And so I appreciate his learning all about these details. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Dan, for that presentation. And I think you have one more.
Yes, so the other language review item is LD 872. That's an act concerning motor vehicle emissions control system tampering, which is a DEP bill. This was a unanimous committee amendment, and you'll note in the draft that I sent you, it doesn't look exactly the same as the amendment that we reviewed in committee. The revisor's office has final say over how the amendments are presented, whether it's a strike and replace, or in this case, it's a, I guess for lack of a better term, you could call it a descriptive amendment. But I can tell you that this is essentially identical to the amendment that you reviewed previously, with the couple added changes of the cross references that were missing from the prior amendment. So the amendment now cross references from Title 29A, the definitions of vehicle auction business, insurance salvage pool, and a salvage vehicle. And those three terms were not previously defined in the amendment. I did circle back with DEP and make sure that using cross references to those definitions that are included in the amendment still met their intent, and they have in fact confirmed that. There is a fiscal note attached, much like the prior bills. It notes minor cost increases to the general fund and OSR, noting that any additional costs to DEP are anticipated to be minor and can be absorbed within existing resources. I can answer any questions about that amendment. That one was a unanimous report.
Thank you, Dan. Any comments or questions? All right. Thank you so much. Are there any other things on our to-do list today that I'm forgetting?
Not on our to-do list, but I would just remind everyone that we're going to be meeting Friday for the first time, which is not a normal day. And we will need a quorum.
9 a.m.?
9 a.m. for some hearings, 6 hearings.
Yep. All right. Thank you, everyone, for a productive day. Got a lot done. I appreciate all of the thoughtful conversation, and we'll see you on Friday.
Thank you to our chairs. Thank you.